Well, 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 we return again to the Lakewood Truck Park as we are 2 hours away from Game 5 of the American League Division Series between the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers from Progressive Field. I'm Nick Padone. He is Jensen Lewis. Big Play Dave joining us for this pivotal Game 5. Boys, the Guardians did what they had to do in Game 4 and lead us to where we are today for a 1 o'clock first pitch down there at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, and I am excited.
And by the way, that was not fun at all. I am not having any fun watching these games. My blood pressure is like 200 over 150. My heart rate's 120. I'm just sitting there having a beer. I'm not having any fun.
I felt more fun when we scored one run in the first inning. Had a couple of cervezas over here with the crew, and again, huge shout out to Lakewood Truck Park. It's been so much fun. We almost have a carbon copy of the weather just a week ago from where we were here doing Game 1 pregame, and boy, what a day that was. So if we get any outbursts like we did in the first inning there, like we could today, albeit a little different competition here at Tarek Skubal on the mound. This has been great. We've had a great crowd for all the games here, and looking forward to a really fun day today.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Game 4 in a second, but obviously this Game 5, we didn't really know that this thing was going to start at 1 o'clock.
Another prime
until about
time, baby.
This time yesterday where the game gets moved due to weather. It also probably has a little bit to do with the Ohio State Buckeyes going on this evening. Jensen, what was your immediate reaction when you saw that news come through that it's going to be a 1 o'clock start, not 8 o'clock, moving this show from 11 instead of what would have been 6?
Yeah, we probably, at least within the media here, we probably had about 20 minutes heads up that, hey, there's some news coming. And my heart dropped because I'm like, oh, no. Like, we don't usually get those messages unless it's something pretty serious. And then when we got the release before it went out, I went right to, weather.com or whatever, and looked and I'm like, what do you mean? It doesn't look really bad. And then
8 o'clock, 24% chance.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, 15%
yeah.
chance.
And then the conspiracy theories start of, hey, kickoff at 7:30 for our Buckeyes against the Ducks, first pitch at 8:08. There's still a chance of rain, by the way, at 1. So, we'll see how it all works out. Welcome to Weather by the Lake. But listen, the advantages, first and foremost, Nick, we talked about it in Game 4, was Skubal, okay? He's going to end up being the Game 5 starter, but pretty big nugget for people that want to hold on to something here early. On 5 days rest, which is what he was in Game 2, his numbers are just surreal, unhittable. With 4 days rest, which is what it'll be today, the ERA is at like 3.5. So he is human, ladies and gentlemen. He is human. And something we had talked about, Nick, a lot was if we get to the Game 5, remember the Guardians had opportunities, just could not get a run across, could not get that big hit. I don't think we'll have any shadows to, really contend with early, at least for the time that game starts. Remains to be seen. But I think ultimately it played out how we talked about on Thursday was get the momentum, get a win, get back home, and then anything goes, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Jensen, talk to the people a little bit about the shadows, because so many people were excited that the night game meant no shadows for Skubal, and then now during the day, you don't really know what you're going to get at the ballpark. Looking up here in the sky, not too much cloud coverage for your Weather on the Lake report here. Yeah. What do people need to know about that's Progressive Field in particular and how it pertains to the shadows for Skubal and our Guardians offense?
Yeah, and usually right around the 3 o'clock hour for this time of year is when things start to creep in, and you'll see kind of that line of demarcation come from our left field and where the big lights are, and it just casts that shadow halfway in between the mound and home plate. So for pitchers, you love it because everything's starting in the light and then everything goes into the dark. And for hitters trying to pick up spin, you may see it as a fastball, out of the hand, but then all of a sudden it dives because it's a changeup. And because you didn't see it all the way and it got lost in those shadows, it makes it exponentially more difficult to try and diagnose and make contact. So we'll see as we get closer, and that's why I told you from our bet standpoint, like, don't do anything with strikeouts until we kind of, have an idea of where we are. But I think that portion of it is eliminated at least early in the game.
Is that an advantage one way or another? Since we're playing at home. We understand the shadows probably a little bit more. Does that give us a slight advantage?
I don't think it comes into play today because we're starting 3 hours earlier.
Yeah.
And I think by the time, if Scooble again from where he was in Game 2, it's not going to matter shadows or not. What it gives you, and if it ends up like this, where
this could. I mean, you're talking 3 o'clock. You could be.
I don't think he'll be in.
Of the 9.
I don't think he'll be in at 3 o'clock. Fingers crossed. Yeah, if he is, we're in deep trouble. But that is I think something for, and this is for both offenses too, because Boyd being a little bit more fastball changeup, and then he's got the slider. I think that is something to keep in the back of your mind. Of it'll be an advantage for both offenses, and they have now come around the second time to face both these guys who they just saw 4 days ago.
Forecast today in Cleveland, 108, man. Bats are going to get after Scooble, and then 7 o'clock, it's going to be a good dose of Will Howard, Judkins, as well as Jeremiah Smith, as we have, we'll put together later in the show, and we got a packed show for you guys here today, our All-Ohio Parlay, very similar to how we started things last Saturday for this division series with the Buckeyes later at 7:30. Game 4 was a good one, and David Fry, what can't he do? Obviously, it was a big homer that gave the Guardians the lead and life in that game and new life in this series. But then later pulled off the masterful bunt.
Squeeze, baby.
Squeeze time, and Rocchio just darts 90 feet, to the plate and scores. And that was just masterful. I really thought good managing by Stephen Vogt. Stay away from that double play ball, what you keep talking about. Just lay down a bunt, man, and get a guy home
move him
and
over.
Stay away from the double play. I thought that was just masterfully done on all accounts.
Yeah, and now for some history, only the second pinch hit homer in Cleveland franchise history for David Fry. You had to go all the way back to 1954 during that year we got swept in the World Series. But it's the first time ever a Cleveland player has hit a pinch hit go-ahead home run in postseason history. The guy's a damn folk hero right now. For the Fry guy, every day is Friday, the way that he's going right now. But you're right, Nick. The critical juncture ends up being in the ninth inning where Guard's ball comes to life. And I've told you about Rocchio. I thought he could be a pivotal player throughout the series. It's played out that way. Yeah. But fundamentals had to be in place and the element of surprise. No way, if you had put A.J. Hinch on a lie detector test, that he was thinking that David Fry was going to lay one down. No way. No. Obviously, with just hitting a home run, coming back up, he's trying to do everything he can to probably lift the ball out of the infield. So, number one, to have the stones Stephen Vogt did to put that call on, shades of Major League right there, with Jake Taylor dropping it down and Willie Mays Hayes coming home. But I think also the skill and the awareness for Brian Rocchio to get as far outside.
Great slide.
To force Rogers to have to really come all the way back over to try and tag him. Really great slide. Ends up being as critical an insurance run because Tigers come right back, get one on Clase, but he ends up closing it out.
And we've seen Brian Rocchio really have a great series. Yeah, very consistent throughout. That was a guy, around the trade deadline where people were like, oh, could you get a shortstop?
Can we go get somebody?
Yeah, Jensen, we were making all sorts of news on bringing the heat and, had the social media streets chirping about Bo Bichette. But no, Brian Rocchio is really kind of taken he's kind of evolved into the player that we thought that he could be and would be when that trade went down. And it's been very exciting to see because he's been one of our most consistent players throughout this entire series.
I have to give the kid so much credit for what I'm sure he heard, from critics and people on the outside, but never stopped working. He's been big league ready from a defensive standpoint for a few years now, and just for young hitters, and it's not just relegated to him. Guys can have trouble, when they come up. And big league pitching, there's a reason there's a Grand Canyon-sized chasm between major league pitching and AAA pitching because this is Top Gun. This is best of the best. And they exploit weaknesses so well up here at this level. It's hard to get back up off the mat. What he did from an adjustment standpoint and really minding his plate discipline. I think there were times, guys, early in the year where he could tell mentally that, all right, I got to try and get a hit. And you're looking over your shoulder like, oh, no, is it going to be Freeman? Is it going to be Gabe Arias? And I think whatever Stephen Vogt and that staff kind of told him, like, hey, man, you're our guy. Yep. Settle in, come in, do your routine, keep getting better, and it'll pay off. And, guys, the last 4 weeks, including this week, Nick, I think you're right, as critical a guy. And he's probably flown under the radar for a lot of people, but as important to the success of this club so far.
Yeah, and we talked about at the beginning of this series a couple other guys we were, or at least I was a little bit worried about. Stephen Kwan coming in a little cold. Heck of a series so far.
Yes.
And Jose Ramirez, can he make the difference in the playoffs?
I think he answered
that on the board.
Yeah.
It really is mind-boggling to think about where Jose has been and what different ways, and it may not always be the home run. It was on Thursday to give him the lead. But he does so many other things, and defensively probably doesn't get enough credit for some of the great plays that he's made. Really difficult plays look routine. I think we're still waiting for Josh Naylor. It is, God, you would just think, what a spot for Nails to be able to do something great today. But, yeah, Jose's been clutch. I still think you look at, Rokes and David Fry again today. Of course, we know with the lefty, Skubals on the mound. I told you guys when I got here, I'm like, I've never seen a game have a 5.5 listed as a total.
It's crazy.
But that just tells you the dominance of not just anticipating Skubal coming and being great, but both these bullpens have been so damn good. And I think you're in for kind of what we saw with the Dodgers last night. Really low scoring, and whichever team executes the best, they're going to be the ones that win.
Man, call my doctor and get some heart prescription pills out here, because we are in for a fun one today. The last piece that really came out of Game 4 was Kerry Carpenter left that game with a hamstring strain.
Yep.
That was a lot of people see Kerry Carpenter on their screen. They immediately want to throw their TV remote through it. Got that very annoying face. Also was the hero multiple times throughout this series. But now his status is kind of up in the air. Am I right, Jensen, as he's battling this hamstring?
Yeah,
now?
still waiting to see what any updates. If we get them, obviously we'll let everyone know. But I think for me, knowing you were going to have Boyd anyway starting, Carp wasn't going to be in the lineup, at least to begin. A very similar lineup, at least ours. I know ours is out, and pretty much identical to what we saw in Game 2. So no surprises there from Stephen Vogt. What'll be fascinating is we're probably not going to get the real feel, and they're not going to release like, oh yeah, it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
I don't want him pulling a Kirk Gibson though, and coming off the bench and doing what he did against Clase. I don't want that.
He's pinch hitting late in the game where he won't have to field.
You would think that they get him shot up with whatever they need anti-inflammatory, just so that he can at least have the stride and the load and release from the batter's box. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it's kind of that one spot in the game where Hinch thinks it's go time.
Yeah.
They hit him and they pinch run for him.
If you're pitching, you're the pitcher. Put yourself in their shoes. He pulls the crap out of that ball.
Yep.
It's so scary as a fan to watch. How do you approach him if he's pinch hitting late in the game?
I think already that he's a little wounded duck a bit, and you take advantage as much as you can on the inside, because it takes so much force and torque to be able to get the hands, drive, and pull everything through. But even some off speed away where you might see a little bit longer of a stride. I mean, there are ways to exploit that. I'm just fascinated to think, okay, Hinch knows what we know, and Voter knows what Hinch knows on that front is where it will go a long way in showing the hand of A.J. Hinch where he feels the point of inflection is, because that's it. I mean, that's pretty much your best bullet off the bench, and I'm fascinated to see when that moment happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We are very excited for this pivotal Game 5 for our Cleveland Guardians today. First pitch coming to you guys, 1:08 at Progressive Field. All-Ohio Parlay coming up. We're going to get you guys the lineup for our Cleveland Guardians. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play pregame show right after this. Welcome on back here into the Big Play pregame show. We're live on social media, YouTube, Twitter. Throw us a follow at Big Play. You can follow me at Nick Padone 12, at JLou50, at Big Play Dave on social. Appreciate all the people tuning in to the streams online. Has been really cool to see. We're presented to you guys today by Lipton Hard Iced Tea.
Perfect
We just got
Perfect.
fresh Lipton delivered to Dave
like
here
I've
right
done
on the
this
set.
before.
It's like you've planned that.
Yeah, look at that. We're live at the Lakewood Truck Park today. We've been live from here all 5 now of these games of the American League Division Series between the Cleveland Guardians and Detroit Tigers. Man, it's going to be a fun one today. Game 5 set for 108 at Progressive Field. We got a lineup card from the manager, Stephen Vogt.
Oh, boy.
Leading off in left is Stephen Kwan. In the 2-hole, DHing is David Fry. What else could you do in that spot? Number 3, usual suspect at third, Jose Ramirez. In center is Lane Thomas. At first is Josh Naylor. John Kenzie Noel, Big Christmas, getting another start out there in right. Bo Naylor behind the dish. Andreas Jimenez at second. And Rocchio, we gave him a ton of love in the open, is at short. Matthew Boyd, your starter today for the Cleveland Guardians. Obviously, guys, the thing to be excited about, at least for me, is seeing David Fry back in that 2-hole after the heroics that happened in Game 4. There was no other decision really to make there.
He has driven in 5 of the 12 Cleveland runs this series. Dave, you talked about Kwani, 8 for 16, so an even 500 through 4 games. And I think it was also a theme we touched on for Game 4 was whatever the lineup was going to be against Reese Olson, when would Stephen Vogt make that ultimate first switch for the lineup? And I'm glad that Manzo and Will Brennan got a couple of opportunities to do that. I would think the same happens today, albeit the only switch is if Cleveland gets the lead, I don't think Matthew Boyd sees much of the second round of the lineup. I don't think they're going to let any of these guys.
Even if he's doing well.
I think you'll take it hitter to hitter at that point.
Okay.
But Voter is not going to let them have any opportunity to try and do damage if it escalates that quickly. But I think I've told you before, when you look at these starters, every out you get into the 5th and beyond is a huge bonus. Maybe into the 4th now for Boyd today would be a huge bonus.
Wow. And then what do you see for Cade Smith, Clark Kent?
Superman, is Andrew Miller in there somewhere? Because, God, have they been seen in the same room?
Right.
I mean, they have been unbelievably.
It's like the Scooby-Doo mask.
It really is. But much in the same way, right, guys? We saw Andrew Miller in 2016 be that Swiss Army knife, and I think Cade Smith stays the same. Probably multiple innings from him today. Multiple innings from Hunter Gaddis. I think that's the other dynamic to pay attention to, though. Let's assume, play a hypothetical, it goes back to where it was on Game 2, 0-0, all the way into the 9th.
Oh, God.
You can't, that's why I think the starters, this is such a pressure-packed decision for both A.J. Hinch and for Stephen Vogt. Guardians, if everything's going right, you get out to the early lead, and you really force the pressure onto Hinch of, okay, I can't let it get any further because I know, what's our operative word, looming. I know it's looming in the Cleveland bullpen. But in the same side, Detroit comes out and puts up 2 spot.
Yeah.
Oh, man, he's like, Tarek, take us home. That's what it'll be. But I would expect Bo Brisky, Will Vest. I don't know if you see Jackson Jobe, today after what happened in the 9th inning.
I doubt it.
It may be in a situation where they're behind if they've already used Brisky and Vest, but those would be my 2 big bullets I think you could see for A.J. Hinch early.
And I will take our big bullets of Cade
sure.
Smith and Hunter Gaddis, especially how Gaddis looked last game. That pitch would
Changeup, yeah.
Incredible.
He's and now to have, because he was basically fastball changeup first half of the year, he's added the slider, so now you got something to go down and in to a left-hander. Obviously the changeup going away, but yeah, he was pretty filthy. And something that Nick and I talked about too before Gab got here was the importance of Hunter Gaddis being able to go back and really know how to do the up-down because he was a starter. And it's hard for some relievers to emotionally come in, get the outs, sit down, come back up and recreate that adrenaline. So that's a huge advantage knowing that Hunter has been able to do that. But you go back to the original question on Cade Smith. I mean, just keep going, big fella. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the Clark Kent glasses on. That's all we need.
Absolutely. All right, we have a very special guest joining us on the Big Play pregame. Brian, is this who I think it is? Is this the godfather of Cleveland baseball?
Oh, wow.
We are now joined by Senior Vice President of Public Affairs, Bob D. Biasio. Bobby D, thank you so much for joining us on the Big Play pregame. Live from Progressive Field, tell us a little bit about the vibe for today's game and how excited are you for this one?
Hello, gentlemen. Yeah, it's, anytime you have an elimination game, game 5, game 7, or even a game 3 in the wild card series, it's the nervous knots. Postseason baseball is all about exhilaration and exhaustion and every emotion that you possibly can have, because one swing of the bat changes the face of a baseball game, and the vibe is awesome. As you always have seen, especially you, Jensen, when the gates open, the running of the bulls to get into the corner bar or the left field drink rails. I sat in the stands with a few ushers, and we just took it all in because it's just so much fun.
All right, Bobby. So the obvious big question that we received a lot yesterday as we frantically changed up our setup and timing with Major League Baseball and the Guardians and the Tigers deciding to move this up. Whatever you can tell us, obviously we know there are some things that are embargoed, but was this really a worry about if we try to get started and then inclement weather gets a delay for keeping it an 8 o'clock game? What was kind of the decision making that putting this game at 1 o'clock today?
Weather was absolutely the sole factor in us moving from originally scheduled. We have to remember it was going to either be a 4:30 game
right,
or an 8 o'clock game. When people purchased their tickets for game 5, they really had no idea when we were going to play.
Yeah.
And so to make a switch, we're going to have a packed house. People are flexible. This is such an important game. But weather was indeed the singular factor in why we went to a 1:08 start. You get on the phone with representatives from our organization, the Tigers organization, Major League Baseball, Major League Baseball's weather consultants, and have a discussion yesterday as to, and the TV partner, and have a discussion on what it might look like. Nobody wanted to try to play tomorrow when the weather's even supposed to be forecasted as even more wet than this evening.
Wow.
With the ALCS to start Monday in New York. So a lot of tough decisions had to be made, but I think we made the right call.
And not only to that, Bobby, and something we've talked about throughout was the old shadows for the 4 o'clock start for Game 2 against as vaunted an opponent as Tarek Skubal has been for everybody. I came in today, and it looked like it's going to be okay, at least for the first couple hours, as far as where those lights cast the shadow in between the mound and home plate. Is that what you're anticipating as well?
Yeah, I agree, boy. I always think back to, what was it, Charlie Nagy and Mike
Mussina, yeah.
Yeah, going toe-to-toe, striking everybody out. Just one of those remarkable, crazy days that, you want to hope to alleviate that aspect. But we have a tough job ahead of us today with the certain Cy Young Award winner in the American League. But I am hoping your thoughts on this, Jensen, is, the familiarity. You got to see him a couple days ago. I think that has to help a hitter get a little teeny bit more comfortable facing a guy.
I think so. And Bobby, something we've talked about at length, and we even really touched on it on Thursday too, was everyone saying, oh, Detroit's kind of on house money. Even if they don't win today, they got Skubal on Saturday. I kind of pushed against that and said, if I'm him, I'm coming in like, I was pretty damn good for Game 2. Like, how much better could I possibly have been? And to try and recreate that, I mean, that's a mental challenge in and of itself. And now the pressure is pretty even on both sides. And I think that's something that he's going to have to face big time today.
Well, a lot of times in the history of baseball, people say home field advantage, you get your last at bats. But I like to say we get the last 2 at bats. We get the last 2 at bats to their 1.
Right.
And I think that's a huge home field advantage. We get 1 hit off Mr. Scooble that we weren't able to get early, and I think things changed.
Sure.
We had our chances. We just were not able. We had a 2-game stretch there where we struggled with runners in scoring position. Let's see if we can get it rolling here today.
Absolutely. The godfather of Cleveland baseball, Bob DiBiasio.
Wow, Bobby's
is our
got to
guest.
update his LinkedIn with that.
Oh, my.
Senior Vice President of Public Affairs for our Cleveland Guardians. Bobby, how special has this season been? Because I know the ballpark has been packed. I've been out there a great handful of times, and it's been a lot of fun with this bunch in particular because they are still so young. They've overachieved to this point, but they really believe that they belong. And from a fan perspective, it's just got to be so fun to see that ballpark packed for this pivotal Game 5 today.
Without question, our fans have really embraced this baseball team, the style of play. Obviously, our summer weekends were just off the charts in sense of the sheer entertainment value. And our guys responded with some remarkable come from behind and late innings victories, walk-off victories on those summer weekends that just help create a vibe that can carry a baseball season. I think spring training, we all felt that while the pundits weren't necessarily thinking we had a chance to win our division, we certainly did. We certainly felt that we would be in the mix with Minnesota and Kansas City and Detroit as, you know, this division would play out. And obviously it did. You know, 4 really good baseball teams had a chance to make the postseason. 3 of us did. We were the ones who came out on top of the division. I'm hoping the flow that the Dodgers had becoming Jensen, the first National League team that had a bye to go to the NLCS in this format.
Yes.
Let's hope that that theme sticks for today as well.
Yeah, some other history. I was going to hit you with that too, Bobby. So coming into that Dodger game last night, going back to 2021, 5 of the last 6 winner-take-all games had been won by the road team. And so thank you, LA Dodgers, for, you know, speaking it and doing it into existence to hand the baton off to us. Bobby, you've been around for, you know, what feels like 50 years with the organization. You've seen you've seen it all. And the other narrative, too, coming into Thursday, as you well know, 11 consecutive elimination games where the Guardians had lost. They get that monkey off their back. Now they can do one more today. Was it 8 consecutive winner-take-all games they haven't been able to win? The last one, I believe, was against the Yankees in '97 in the division series, in which we were able to go on and move on from that. Ironic that a win today puts us in the Bronx on Monday night.
Well, think about it. You've got the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Yankees, 3 top payrolls in all of baseball, fighting for a World Series opportunity. And then there's us and the Tigers playing the game of baseball that we can play to get there. Just so full of pride as to how we go about doing a sustained winning, creating a sustained winning culture here with what Chris and Cherney and the group have done under the leadership of Paul. If you think about it, the last 12 years now, 3rd most wins in all of baseball behind the Dodgers and Yankees. Houston's behind us now as we vaulted over them. It would be wonderful, obviously, for us to shake that one, the elimination game jinx or whatever you want to call it, to shake that out of the tree. But you never know what's going to happen. You know it, Jensen. When that ball leaves your hand as a pitcher, we're on the edge of our seat, and you just don't know what's going to happen to that baseball.
I can tell you, Bobby, Michelle and I are sitting there amongst a group of our favorite people at a local establishment, and I was feeling everything Emmanuel Clase was going through in the 8th and the 9th, and I'm like, God, it sucks having to sit here. This is so much worse than having the ball in your hand. But last one from me, and I know the boys will have one for you too. I think you brought up one of the great equalizers in our sport. What Chris Antonetti, what Mike Chernoff, and more importantly, the entirety, because it takes an entire front office, a scouting department, to put together a team like we see, and the internal development for what has produced the Stephen Kwans and all these guys that have come up and become the bedrock of this foundation. For people that don't realize the day-to-day of what you and the rest of the front office and those scouting people go through, just illuminate that for everyone so they can fully appreciate what we're watching here today.
Well, think of the task at hand for our baseball operations crew, changing from a Hall of Fame manager to a gentleman who they had all the hopes that Stephen Vogt would be the right choice, the right man for us at this time, and that he would be able to set a atmosphere and a culture and an environment of working hard, of being disciplined, of being respectful to the game and to each other, just like Tito had. And what a job Stephen Vogt and his coaching staff. I was sitting in the stands watching our pregame, the BP, and there's Rocchio out in foul territory in front of our dugout with that little
Ponzi machine.
Yeah, and he's doing that. It's game 166.
Love it.
And he's still doing it. One of our coaches is at home plate hitting fly balls to the outfielders, to John Kenzie and other guys out there, so that you can imitate the bat swing and the flight of the ball. Again, game 166, and they're still doing fundamental drills, which we were doing on the first day of spring training back in early February. Just that mindset of, hey, we have to work hard every day to achieve what we want to achieve, and that didn't stop. That's still continuing to this day, and I just sat there and go, I have a good feeling about it.
Bobby DiBiasio, huge thank you for joining us here on the Big Play pregame show. Good luck to you today. I know you'll have a ton of support from this desk right here. We're looking forward to it and hope to talk to you again before an American League Championship Series game next week.
Let's count on it. Appreciate the invite, gentlemen. Go Guardians.
All right,
Go
thanks, Bobby
Guards.
D.
Thanks, Bobby D. Obviously a lot of fun there, hearing from the man himself, and just really speaking to the amount of fun, Jensen, that we've had throughout this entire season with these Cleveland Guardians. From the time that you started with us at Big Play and we were asking you about Stephen Vogt, we were asking you about the lack of real free agent moves that happened throughout the offseason, all to bring us here today for this must-win Game 5, 9 innings away from playing the Yankees for a shot to go to the World Series. Unbelievable what this club's been able to do this year.
I tried to go back and put myself in the mindset of where I was when I came and met Dave and you guys at Burke, and thought like, all right, this will be pretty fun. I think we'll be able to bring some lightheartedness, but some good analysis and just a little different perspective. I don't know if any of us could have thought that as we gone week by week. First, this is the start to the season. April and May, just being in first place. I think they only spent maybe 10 days outside of first place, and that was all in April. I think it was less than that. I think it was single digits. They spent time out of first place. And it wasn't until the Royals came level with them in that 4 games in 3 days where you really had your first thought of, okay, is the fairy tale over? Is the clock struck midnight in this group? And that was point one of resiliency. Nick, you and I talked about it on Thursday. Austin Hedges said at the beginning of the year, hey, we approach every game like it's a playoff game. Hard to do for 6 months. Hard to do mentally. I've been there, done that. It's tough to get up in August, dog days, and be like, all right, but you're playing meaningful baseball. That certainly helps come to the yard every day. The series against Minnesota, when we put them away for good and Manzardo hits the go-ahead home run. There are certain moments that you look at. I mean, John Kenzie Noel hitting the absolute tank at Camden Yards, and that whole dugout was just erupting about it. They have had such a united front. They have been so close. It is rare in professional sports, guys. I've been a part of a lot of different clubhouses. Rare when almost everybody likes each other.
It's crazy.
There's no Jack Parkman on this team. There's no egos there that aren't checked at the door. And I think that is one of the beauties of this ball club in particular. These guys will do whatever it takes. They call it guards ball for a reason. They'll do whatever it takes. Microcosm of that, David Fry with the safety squeeze to get the insurance run. Any other ball club, you're probably like, they're swinging away. They're trying to lift the ball.
Yeah.
But, man, what a job from this group all year long.
Alrighty. Stephen Kwan's come on the show.
Yeah.
And he's mentioned that. And he says, genuinely, we love each other.
Like hanging out on off
people
days,
say that, in professional sports, that's the thing to say, but they genuinely do.
Yeah.
Like, they are friends.
Alrighty, one of our great friends, I believe, is waiting to join us right now. We got Raf in the green room, another guest.
Bienvenido, amigo.
Live from Progressive Field, Rafa Hernandez Brito, El Alcalde, the mayor of Guards Baseball. We talked to the Godfather, now we got the mayor, bilingual play-by-play announcer for our Cleveland Guardians. Raf, thank you so much for joining us. We are pumped for this Game 5 today. Tell us what the early vibes are like down there at Progressive Field.
Oh, no, it says Raf's mic isn't connected.
We'll get Raf's mic.
Carlos Baerga unplugged his mic.
So some pranks going on as we wait for Raf.
Wait a minute. There he is. There he is.
Come on, Ryan. Yeah, guys, you gotta blame it on Ryan, right? That is a big year, man. I think they opened the gates a little earlier because the first two games we were seeing that there were some people still waiting in line to get in before first pitch, and I want everybody to be on their seats. I'm not one of those complaining about the game being at 1 o'clock. Forget about the shadows, whatever you want to call it. I didn't want to wait till 8 p.m. to do this freaking game. So let's get it on. Let's get on to New York, and that's it.
Raf, we would be pacing literally all day. I was pissed. I wanted a primetime game. We were talking to Bobby D, and, I had flashbacks of Game 7 in the World Series with a rain delay that shouldn't have ever happened. I'm like, all right, maybe we avoided that tonight. So I'm with you, Raf. Let's get this over with.
Raf,
get it run, man. I think that the park looks beautiful. The guys just finished doing the work out there on the field, so we're ready to go. We can talk all you want about breaking, the 11 or 10 games, the elimination game. We've lost 4 straight Game 5s in the ALCS, so tonight another night to finish it up. So I think the guys are ready. We got 2 guys that haven't allowed anything in the playoff, and like you guys were talking about, David Fry can do the small things. The whole team can do it. So I'm ready to go. Carlos and I have been saying that we thought Escobar was going to be out in the 3rd inning last game. I think this is the night when we finish him up.
I love that.
Raf calling for Scooble to be out by the 3rd inning, which would be huge for our Guards. Raf, give us an X factor for that Cleveland offense. Which bat are you looking out for today to knock Scooble out of this game so early?
We have to manufacture runs. We have to keep him busy. We have to make him throw pitches and get him out of here, early. But I think this is the day we all, as Cleveland Guardians fans, have been talking about how much Jose Ramirez is overlooked by the national media, how much he's been on, I know how many straight years in the top 5 voting of the MVP. Well, guess what? Tonight, all baseball TV monitors are going to be tuning in to the Guardians and Tigers. And I think this is the time for Jose Ramirez to say, hello, world, and here I am. This is what you have been missing, and I've been carrying this team for so long. I've been the leader in this team, and tonight's the night. I think Jose Ramirez and the crew will take care of business tonight.
And Rafa, he can be the El Jefe wherever he wants. I can tell you that. A little nugget for you, and I love that you have the optimism already about school being out. Every team that has scored first so far has won this game or this series, and I think they've got Detroit now is 4-0 when they've scored first. We're obviously 2-0 when we score first. Anybody that you feel from a Cleveland perspective, and I want you to give us your feel on Rocchio, because I told the boys before Game 1, I'm like, I think this is a guy maybe under the radar that not only defensively will be great for us, but I think he'll handle the stick. He'll have some clutch hits for us. He has. From the time you've seen him, beginning of the year to now, what stands out the most about just watching him and where he's at?
I think he's become more patient at the plate. I think between him and Bo, they were a little too anxious at the beginning. It's kind of like what happened to Manzardo when he came up the first time.
Right.
He struck out, I think, his first four turns at bat. So I think Rocchio, he finally kind of like separated between what he does on the field to what he does on the plate. And he has been really huge when it comes to getting that big hit. We're talking about manufacturing runs. there's a bunt that we could use at any moment. What Rocky can do with the bat, but I think the factor here, other than the big guys, the big names that we expect, Andres Jimenez has to do something tonight too with the bat. I think with the glove, we are used to what he does with the glove, but Andres has to do something tonight to get that bottom of the lineup, because Hedges is not going to start. It's going to be Bo. So now we're going to have two lefties and Rocchio at the end of the top of the 9 hitters. So we need that. That needs to happen for the Guardian. Number 1 and the number 2 hitter get on base. We're going to have what Naylor and Jose Ramirez had all season, right? Over 100 RBIs,
right?
And batting with runners in scoring position with 2 out. That's what we have done all season long. But I think that bottom of the order is what needs to set it up for the guys coming up as well, because those 7, 8, 9 guys become the leadoff hitters once the games get started.
Right.
And if we can get those 3 on base for Kwan, who is hitting 500 in the series, who is going to be tying Kenny Lofton for the most straight game hitting in the playoff for the Guardians, and then have Ramirez and Naylor and David Frito, who is the guy that we have called all season long. That player to be named later is they all have to step up. We step up as a team. It's not like one guy. I think that's the amazing thing about the Guardians.
Hey, Raf, what's the Spanish play-by-play call for David Fry? Is it David Papas Fritas, or like what are you going with?
We call him David Frito because he's kind of related to me, Hernandez Brito. So we name him Frito.
Man. Hey, by the way, you mentioned that player to be named later, just for some beer money trivia that people don't realize. So we sent J.C. Mejia to Milwaukee in 2022, and the player to be named later.
A lot of people were upset about.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
David Fry, folk hero. It is Friday every day. Rafa, last one from me, and we had Carlos on earlier in the series, and he talked about early offense too. I have 2 guys circled in the lineup today, especially with Boyd, the lefty, on the mound. I have Andy Ibanez, who has just absolutely crushed Cleveland pitching in his career and also this year. And then Justin Henry Malloy, who has been unbelievably good in his 9 plate appearances so far. Of those 2 guys, who do you feel that we got to neutralize more?
I think we have to neutralize the leadoff guy. He's the guy that, you rarely see a DH guy batting. This is the day and age we live in baseball, right? The DH batting first. And I think that's the guy that we need to stop. Boyd stayed out of trouble in game 2. I mean, they left a lot of guys on base. We got Scubal out of trouble at the end of the game with those 2 double plays that he got out of. So it's just a matter of taking advantage of when you have the guy on the ropes. And the first game was kind of like what got us into first place for almost the whole year.
Right.
Game 2 and 3 was kind of like after the All-Star game, Guardians. Game 4, we went back. So we hope that we go back to being patient at the plate, get a couple of guys on base, get this guy out of rhythm, and see what we can do with him. But on the other side, for sure, I think just pitching with 1 out and nobody on base is going to get Boyd a little more time to just be himself and throw what he has.
Love it.
Love it. Ralph, how cool is it? And we talked a little bit about it with Bob DiBiasio right before we brought you in, that the 3 teams that are already punched their ticket to the championship series, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, then you've got the Cleveland Guardians, right, waiting to do that today, the little engine that could. How cool is that, as really a baseball purist that you are, to see the Guards be able to do something like this today?
I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of this sport, that you can have the guys that make $200 million each, and then you have guys that are coming to have the day of the season of their life. And it's the only sport where the number 1 team or the team with the most talent doesn't always win. It's always the team that plays hard, the team that does the fundamentals a lot better than the other one, and the guys that play together. And we have talked about this all year long. This team is a one-boss team. It's not like a 25 taxi team like the Bronx Zoo guys used to be. And I can't wait to go back to New York and take these guys on.
Wow.
We have some business pending with the Bombers that we
do.
can take care of.
Yes.
And you know what? They can keep their money and flash their money, and we'll take our guys all the way.
Absolutely. Dave, you good?
I am good. Rafa, we love you, my man. Best
Thanks, Rafa.
play-by-play guy in
I'm
the
telling
business.
you what, I'll be sending you a highlight because we're singing a new Christmas song for John Kenzie Noel today, and we're going to have a big boom by Jose Ramirez, and we'll see you in New York.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Raf, you know my phone will be on standby, my friend. Feel free to-
Rafa, if Big Christmas hits a dinger today, what's the call? Can you give us a sneak peek?
Feliz Navidad. Feliz
Oh, man.
Rafa Hernandez Brito, Guards bilingual play-by-play announcer. Huge thanks to him for joining us on the Big Play pregame show. Raf, have a great call, and we will talk to you live from New York, I hope, next week.
Yeah, baby.
Later. It's always exciting talking to Raf, but when you hear him break down,
One of my favorite people.
what the Guardians can do, and like you said, tell New York a couple nights from tonight on Monday to, take your money and shove it up where, because we've got a team full of guys that play really hard. It just gets you even more amped and even more excited for what we have in store here today.
I think what's beautiful about just this series in general, I was on MLB Network Radio this morning previewing the game, and the question was asked, who do you think between Cleveland or Detroit is the best chance to beat New York? And I said, honestly, it's pretty even. And if you think about where postseason baseball has been in the last decade, you need a deep bullpen, you need guys that can generate swing and miss, and then you need a little bit of power. And fortunately, that's where Cleveland found it internally this year. And no one had Stephen Kwan ticketed for 10-plus home runs this year. No one had Will Brennan doing what he did. And John Kenzie Noel coming up and in a very short amount of time getting double-digit home runs himself. Who had David Fry as one of the 5 All-Stars, going to Texas in the first?
Literally no one.
No one had that. And to be fair, I know the Cy Young is traditionally a starting pitching award. But Emmanuel Clase, when it's all said and done, go back and look at some of the seasons that Mariano Rivera had during his prime. Clase's year this year beats almost every one of them.
Which is insane.
And it's insane. And, I think it's hysterical to look at, okay, a guy throwing a 101-mile-an-hour cutter, how does anyone even put the bat on it? Like, I remember sitting in the dugout suites my first couple years on the media side, and I'm looking at it like, I've always had respect for these guys doing what they do, trying to hit us. But it was to another level. And I was watching Kluber, and he's throwing that boomerang breaking ball. I'm like, how do you even put a barrel on it? Because you still got to respect he could drop 95 with sink on you.
Yeah, right.
Now you fast forward to Class A this year. Here's 101 in on your hands as a lefty. And, oh, by the way, here's your oop-de-oop 93-mile-an-hour slider. And to team him with Cade Smith, who, will eventually be the closer of this team when it's all said and done. Cade Smith, by the numbers, was the most valuable as far as wins above replacement reliever in baseball this year. Not Emmanuel Clase, who was third.
Really?
Cade Smith, the most valuable reliever as far as wins above replacement. You put him, Clase, and Gaddis together combined, 5.5 wins above replacement. There's your difference maker as far as winning the division, but also now what it could come down to, not only today, but what we hope is in the American League Championship Series.
Isn't that the key to a deep playoff run is, like, late innings, you have 3 studs to close out the game, and as long as you can put up a run, which we proved last game,
it can be done. It can be done.
You can't ask for anything better than that.
You guys will remember the Kansas City Royals in the mid-2010s when they went to back-to-back World Series in 14 and 15. And they had Greg Holland, who was their closer, Wade Davis, who set up for them, and Calvin Herrera. And it was a 6-inning game. If you did not have a lead after that, it was ball game because they were so dominant. You can make an argument that this group that we have this year is 5 deep because of not only what those 3 we talked about, but what Tim Herron has done. And by the way, Gaddis, Herron, and Smith, all rookies. I remember my rookie year going to the playoffs in 07. I'm like, okay, this is big because I went to Old Yankee Stadium to pitch and then Fenway. And that's back when you had, some of the big boys, A-Rod on steroids, and then, in the middle of the Red Sox lineup with Ortiz and Manny Ramirez, Dustin Pedroia, Mike Lowell. I mean, this was some significant lineups. So for what this group has had to navigate, and that's why I bring it back to the question about who's got the best chance to beat the Yankees, Detroit and Cleveland have the best 2 bullpens in baseball remaining right now in the postseason.
Yeah.
They also have that quick strike ability and the athleticism too, because when you think about it, without Judge and Soto, I mean, Stanton has had a decent, division series, but outside of that, the Yankee lineup's equivalent to Miami Marlins. And so, you know, you sidestep some damage with Soto and Judge, you got as good a shot as anybody to beat them.
Man.
We're looking ahead.
We're looking ahead.
As we said Thursday, business at hand first here.
Yeah,
that's right.
absolutely.
That's right.
A lot of business at hand. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on elsewhere around the MLB. We hit on the Yankees a little bit right there. That series with Kansas City was interesting because Garrett Cole, Yankee bullpen, able to finish off the Royals there when it mattered most. Jensen, I know we thought when KC threw Lugo that, okay, maybe that was their best chance to kind of capitalize on having an all-American League Central Championship Series. Didn't happen. It's the Yankees moving on our side of the bracket.
Yeah, and credit where it's due, too. You talk about dominant bullpens. The Yankee bullpen just rattled off, I think, 15 2/3 without allowing an earned run. That in itself was magical, considering that their bullpen was in shambles for the better part of August until Luke Weaver, who was claimed on waivers, ends up being their closer. How about that journey for Luke Weaver? Okay, so they've got it figured out in the back end of the bullpen. The lineup, as I said before, if you can keep Soto and Judge at bay, you've got a great shot. What I think we take away from Kansas City is not only an amazing season. They're going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
And you remember the core, and I'll bring up that 14 and 15 team again. Remember, that was, you know, Moustakas and Hosmer and even Salvi Perez early on in his career, Lorenzo Cain. You know, they were a formidable core. And you're seeing that now with where Bobby Witt Jr. is and Vinny Pasquantino. Salvi is the Camus of catchers. The guy just keeps getting better with age. It's unbelievable what he's done. But they got some grit. Michael Garcia. Stay off Twitter and don't be talking smack, but I respect the game. They have a group that believes now. There's so much benefit of getting to a postseason, even though they lost. So much benefit of getting this far. And Bobby Witt Jr. said it best. It's going to be a kind of a bittersweet thing. It's going to be a bad taste in our mouth. We'll use it for motivation the whole offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's look on the other side of that bracket. We've known since we've done our last show that it was the New York Mets that were waiting to see who they would play on the National League side. Last night we find out it is the LA Dodgers, and that was just a dominating pitching performance from that entire LA staff. Like you said, Jensen, earlier in the show, very low scoring, could be a precursor of what we have in store for our guards today, but the Dodgers were able to get it done.
9:08 first pitch, what it was Saturday morning in Tokyo. And why do I bring that up? Because yesterday, the first ever postseason game in Major League history, matched up of two Japanese-born players in both Yu Darvish and in Yoshi Yamamoto. So I can't even imagine if we were in the streets of Tokyo, boys, watching yesterday, how cool that would be and how neat that was for the country. And, oh, by the way, a guy by the name Shohei Ohtani leading off and DHing for the Dodgers. Okay, so we talked about this Thursday. Who would the bigger disappointment be? And I think the bigger disappointment would have been for L.A., because if they would have lost, you went out and spent $1 billion this offseason to get basically Ohtani, Yamamoto. You traded for Glass now and extended him. This is what your expectation was the whole time, was to get to this point. Yamamoto's ERA against San Diego in 3 previous starts, 13. He came in and dealt last night. And Darvish was really, really good too. Kept him to 2 runs, but you thought we had it bad with 20 consecutive scoreless? San Diego finishes the year 24 consecutive scoreless.
Yeah, I was rooting for him too.
We all were.
Right?
Yeah,
Everyone was,
absolutely. No question.
Yeah.
By the way, Dodgers home run celebrations, worst in baseball?
Oh, I know physically.
This is a kid-friendly program, so we won't play it on air.
I'm gonna say that to physically do that, you would think would be an injury waiting to happen. I don't know what spawned that idea. So
it's the adrenaline hip thrust.
If you haven't seen the Kike Hernandez home run celebration from yesterday, go YouTube it and you make your own judgment.
Or don't.
Don't have a Lipton Hard iced tea in your hand at that time.
There you go.
Yeah. We're having a lot of fun out here at the Lakewood Truck Park as we are closing in about an hour away now, boys, from first pitch. Out there at Progressive Field, just one city over, Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers. Straight ahead, we're going to hit you guys with the refresh, get you up to speed on what to look out for this very pivotal Game 5. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play pregame show right after this. Welcome on back into the Big Play pregame show. We're broadcasting to you guys live from the Lakewood Truck Park. We're brought to you today by our friends over at Lipton Hard Iced Tea. Appreciate all the people that are here hanging out with us in Lakewood. Get the Lipton Hard Iced Teas flowing.
Mix them with something else, too.
Having a lot of fun out here today as we are now, guys, officially 1 hour away from first pitch at Progressive Field. Jensen, what's that feel like, especially as a bullpen guy? You know, out there, you're an hour away from first pitch. The excitement's starting to build for the club for sure, especially in a game like today.
And
where
these young kids.
Yeah. Well,
this is a young baseball team. How many times did you throw up before a game?
I can safely say I never did that.
Wow. What an alpha male.
I did make sure I put on my socks and my pants the same way every time, just to make sure that was all superstitious taken care of. No, it's a great feeling. I always marveled at when you came in from BP and how many people got there early. I think Rafa said they even let the gates open a tad early, which is awesome. And then it's, going in, just getting a bite to eat and kind of centering yourself, throwing on the headphones, doing whatever prep you got to do finally. For me, I always like to go back in the video room. The video guys would put together kind of a rip of strikeouts I'd have had against an opponent or the team we're facing. Just, you reinforce that positivity into your head. And then when you come out and you walk out to the line for the anthem, and then it really kind of sinks in there when you see every seat sold out and how raucous everybody will be. So couldn't be happier for this group and for the guys that are going to get in there. It's a whole nother adrenaline rush when you know that if you lose, you go home. And that's for both sides. So
I think we saw that from Bibee a little bit with that fastball. He couldn't quite get under control.
Yep.
As a pitcher, how do you calm yourself down? You see him doing the woo-saw. He's taking the deep breaths right there on the mound. What is there anything that you can do to calm those nerves?
Yeah, there's no such thing as clearing the mechanism. God love you, Kevin Costner, but you have kind of that, and every guy's different, so it's not a cookie cutter approach for being able to reel everything back in. For me, and it's a little bit more difficult to do now because of the disengagement rules. If I went to a 2-0 count, I would automatically, didn't matter what time it was in the game, I would automatically just go behind the mound, huge deep breath, get back up there, huge deep breath again, and then just go. Just kind of your own internal reset button there, just to try and slow yourself down. I think that's really, it's good you brought up Tanner. You could tell that it was fighting a little bit mechanically, just could not get the tempo just right and the cadence and all that. But I think what's so great about him is most young pitchers would let that whole thing spiral, and it would compound the issue. And if he was not able to kind of hold his mud, as Eric Wedge used to say, then we'd have been in a much bigger problem area. So I credit him for being able to really try and reel in as much of that command as he possibly could on a day that I'm sure when he went out there, he probably felt great. And then there are days where it just leaves you, man, and that's the scariest thing, especially in the postseason.
Matthew Boyd today on the inverse. We've got the old vet, looking to do in his old ball club, and you really couldn't write that story any better of what today could really be for Matthew Boyd and the history that he has with Detroit. Obviously coming here more than midway through the season and really helping our guards get over this last final speed bump of the regular season. Pitched awesome earlier in this series. Jensen, what are you looking for out of Boyd today?
I think he absolutely leaves everything out there, and it was a question I was asked earlier today. What would be the expectations for people that didn't see the press conference yesterday? He got kind of emotional when he was talking about getting the nod for this start, and not only what it would mean just inherently, Nick, as you talked about, going against his team that he broke in with and spent so many of his great years with. But I think there is a moment of presence for him right now that he worked so hard to get all the way back just to pitch, guys, and then to have the opportunity to get back to pitching in the big leagues and throw on top of that, oh, hey, I'm going to be on a really good team, and now I get a chance again to pitch a postseason game. I think there's a good part of him that is going to pitch with relative calm because he has put in all the work. He doesn't know if this is it. Will he ever get back there? And so I think he is in that moment right now. I think he's in that headspace where it's, I'm not leaving anything to chance. I'm emptying the kitchen sink. If this is the last time I toe the slab in an October game, I want to leave no doubt. And so I'm supremely confident in his mindset today moving in. Now the flip side of that is be able to execute and just collect outs. Don't have a preset idea. I'm getting to the fifth no matter what. Just collect outs and go pitch to pitch as much as you possibly can.
Really looking forward to this one. Jensen, something that you said that just is so interesting about this series in particular. Baseball is just one of those games, man. In the first hour of the show, you mentioned that the team that scores a run first in this series, undefeated, as LeVar Ball would say, never lost, 4-0. It just goes to show that runs runs have been at a premium for both squads, and it's just so important to score early in the series.
Yeah, it is, and I think also when you look at just this game in a vacuum, we obviously know what the importance of a lead against Tarek Skubal in any game he's pitched this year. But by the flip side there is still some significant pressure on Detroit, right? And if they don't get a lead early, what does it mean for their hitters now? Because they know what our bullpen is. Having the off day yesterday, so massive for rest of the big guns for both bullpens. I think that is why you look at this game in two different stances. The first is obviously that first time around the order. If you get a lead against Skubal, all of a sudden you've put that doubt in his mind. And you've added that much more pressure to your lineup. We got to get even, if not get a lead, because the numbers don't lie, guys. This bullpen, this team this year, they have lost only 2 games when leading after 6 innings. 2.
It's insane.
That just tells you the dominance, and also that's in the back of both A.J. Hinch and Stephen Vogt's mind is the numbers are not in my favor if I don't have a lead after 6 innings.
Yeah, you got to absolutely score early in this game. That's been the theme of this entire first series for the Guardians. But if they get a couple runs in the first 4 or 5 innings of this game, man, how about Roth said he thinks that Skubal could be knocked out by the 3rd inning of this one. He's obviously elated to be at that ballpark today. That'd be a ton of fun.
Hey, I know
that would.
We were a bit shocked yesterday when Gab said, I think it's going to be a 5-0. You and I about fell out of our chair. 5-0. Oh, my goodness. But I do believe that it will be a lower scoring affair. I do feel that we get a similar tension from last night's game watching the Padres and the Dodgers. I mean, every pitch feeling magnified. And you love it. Like, you love it as a player. I hate it. I'm with you, Dave. I hate it as a fan, having to sit there and
it's not enjoyable.
And feel helpless.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can do. What you can do is be seriously loud down at the stadium today.
Yes.
And empty the tank, all right? If this is it, empty the tank. Leave nothing to chance. You can get hydrated and be ready for Ohio State later tonight. But do your job. Go out there, make it a hostile environment for every Detroit person that comes in that stadium.
100%. All right, speaking of Ohio State later, it is 12:15. I think it's time to put together some bets.
Okay,
we did the All-Ohio parlay last Saturday, and it hit. It covered some tabs here at the Lakewood Truck Park. We're pulling up the sportsbook apps again today as it's time to lock in a parlay here for Game 5 for our Guards, as well as Ohio State versus Oregon later, number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah. Dude, I've been going full degen. So I was telling you guys earlier, I am betting plate appearances during these games. I'm betting exact pitch counts for these batters. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm sure.
Typically, I don't like to bet during the Guardians game.
Okay.
I'm in my zone, so, give me the Yankees, KC. Give me all of those games. Plate appearances, live bets.
Right.
Super, super fun. But when it comes to the Buckeyes, I guess I'm not surprised that it's only 3. I just don't have a great feeling either way.
I asked Nick, too, coming in, like, what do you think? And I believe Nick Saban had said it on game day that, hey, if they can establish a run, forget about it. And, you have that two-headed monster of Quinchon and Travion. And then Will Howard, the ability to escape the pocket and run his own way. So I think here's my idea. I think we can do a baseball only.
Yeah.
And then I think, because obviously we can't do the player props for college here in the state of Ohio. Boo.
R.I.P., man. It was such a fun couple of weeks of player props in Ohio.
But I wouldn't be shocked if it's a shootout there in Eugene.
Yeah.
Can
Really?
you see like 38, 34?
I definitely can. The
Okay.
total for that one set for 54. I guess the only thing that leans you off of a shootout out there in Oregon is the fact that Ohio State has only allowed 14 points or more once, and it was 14 points against Marshall, and really that was just a couple garbage time touchdowns. That game was never really that much in question. It'll be interesting because that game in particular is going to be the first time that Ohio State has even had a remote test.
First regular season game. Preseason's over for Ohio State.
And it's number 2 in the nation, number 3 in the nation, so huge matchup out there.
Yeah.
Out west today.
All right, here's what I'm eyeing for you.
What do you got, Jensen?
All right, so if we want to get creative for our Cleveland and Detroit parlay, I think we stick to our guns here. Fry to get a hit, Rocchio to get a hit.
Okay.
I told you I think Andy Ibanez probably one of the hitters to watch, if not the hitter to watch early because of what he's done against left-handed pitching. So I would say Ibanez to get a hit. And I would even throw.
I'm not putting any Tigers.
No Tigers? Okay. All right, we'll stay with us.
This is interesting. Jose Ramirez, by far and away, the overwhelming favorite to hit a home run in this game.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Josh Naylor is not. Not even close.
So if you're looking for a long shot, that's the one. Because he's been so quiet.
950.
Been so quiet, right? Or, as I've told you before, the conservative route, 4 total bases. Two doubles.
You know what? I did that last time
you?
we talked.
So yeah, all right. So if you want to amp it up, then we say Fry 2 or more total bases. Let's say Rocchio to get a hit.
Okay.
And what's Boyd's strikeout total?
I was just going to throw that at you. What would you get? What would you guess?
Yeah, 2.5.
It's 3.5.
Okay. Well, we can do what we did last time. Buy down to 3.
Yep.
What did he have last game? We bet the over. It was 5.5, I think, or maybe 4.5. It was over.
Well, we bought it down, right? Did we buy it to 4?
We bought it down to 4.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And then the over, I think, not that we move any totals here.
Immediately moved.
We say, hey, 6.5. Take the over, and then boop, right to 7.
We're currently at 6 right now.
I want nothing to do with the total. If anything, I would buy it up to like under 10.5 or something. Just there's no way this is a 6-4 game or something, right?
All right, Jensen, give me a gut check on this. David Fry, first plate appearance.
Okay.
What do you think? In play, out, we're not doing that. Strikeout, we're not doing that. Walk, plus 950.
No, not against
Single, plus 550. Double, plus 1,200. Home run, plus 1,500.
The value on a double
feels great, right? Especially if they're going to ambush early and try and get Scooble on the ropes. Yeah, why not?
All right, should we go safe? I've got a 6-1 here that feels kind of safe.
All right, let's hear
Guardians money line.
Okay.
I bought down Boyd to just 3 strikeouts.
Okay.
A Fry hit, a Rocchio hit, 6-1.
I like that a lot.
Not bad.
20 pays 140.
Oh, put it in.
And the Guards advance to play the Yankees on Monday. Roll it over.
No, Nick Padone, first bottle. Nick Padone, if that hits here at the Lakewood Truck Park.
Yeah, we'll be feeling good for Ohio State and Oregon here at 7:30. That'd be a lot of fun. Our bets, man, they started off hot. I think we hit the first 2 games.
Yep.
Then we cooled off, and then I think we hit
got
game
back
5.
on it. Yep.
Yeah, we got back on it as the Guardians were able to win. So that Guardians money line, kind of funny how that works. Seems to be our biggest leg as we build out these bets on the show. Jensen, in your estimation, what do the Guardians have to do to win today? That question flat out.
Yeah, the stock answer, of course, is to score off Scooble, and that would also lend me to a big day from Jose Ramirez and David Fry. So like 2-3 ends up being where your bread is buttered. I think if you're Stephen Vogt early. I wonder, though, if we have a re-rack of Game 2 and it's 0-0 through the 5th.
Please, no.
Like that's –
No, yeah.
Here's your ultimate chaos scenario, okay? You get Scooble and Boyd dueling shutouts, all right, into the 5th.
Okay.
Detroit goes up 1. You throw in Clark Kent, Cade Smith immediately. You got to keep it at 1 because Scooble's dealing.
In the 5th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so he pitches the 5th and the 6th. We tie it. Bottom of the 6th. Let's say Bo Brisky's in the game now. So you do Gaddis 7-8, Clase 9.
Yep.
No automatic runner on second in extra innings for the postseason.
That's nice.
Which I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you go length at that point, or is it Timmy Herron and then Cantillo Eli Morgan. That's the ultimate chaos scenario for
How
me.
about Gavin Williams? That's a guy that we haven't seen much of because he was speaking of chaos, he was a little chaotic to end the regular season there, and it feels like they really have leaned on the vets and then kind of the hot hand of Cantillo a little bit.
I don't even want to think about what you're presenting.
That's
to
what I
me
said.
Right here.
Chaos right?
scenario.
I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Let me throw it at you.
Okay.
Okay. It's 1-1, ninth inning, bottom of the ninth. X hits a home run to win it.
Oh, it's Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jose. It's Jose or Naylor. And Naylor just absolutely punts his bat into the upper deck.
Like
just,
with his foot.
Just like an axe throw.
I want it to be Naylor so bad.
Yeah, he is so due. Like, on a serious note, he's got to do something today.
What's remarkable, too, about how good, and this is tip of the cap to Detroit, their bullpen has been so clutch when there's been runners in scoring position. I mean, they have been nearly automatic up until Game 4. And I think that has been such a huge reason why some frustration can mount, and where that fine line of being able, as a Guardians hitter, to say, all right, we're almost – you and I talked about this on Thursday. Mm-hmm. You've been close. You were close in Game 2. You take that with you into today. You look at your good swings. You look at pitches that you've been seeing well. And that's why I think, and now that it's kind of clearing up a little bit, anxious to see what it looks like on TV down at the ballpark.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about any of the shadows or anything not allowing you to pick up spin. And who knows, maybe that is your difference maker early in this game against Skubal. I still think there's pressure on him, man.
Yeah,
100%.
It's in Cleveland again. And Jensen, you talked about it before we got off the air and we were getting ready to watch Game 4 together, when you said he's got to come back here and in the back of his mind understand, I'm now tasked with replicating what I did before.
Yeah.
And what I did before, okay, it mattered, but it doesn't matter as much as it matters today. Whereas if I lose, season's over.
Mm-hmm.
If I win, we go battle New York. That's just a ton of mental fog, I've got to believe.
Can we have the crowd get to this guy? Do you remember, like, way back in the day, like, Roger Clemens would be pitching and we'd be chanting, Roger, and he'd be getting pissed. Is there any way we can get to the Cy Young with the home crowd advantage?
There is a quick story. So you guys remember when it was Yankees Red Sox, and they would when Pedro Martinez was on the mound, and the whole stadium was chanting, "Who's your daddy?"
Yep.
We probably can't chant the blank up the way that Skubal did it to the crowd coming off, but that would be great if our crew could do that. But no, I think first inning is so key. Drive up the pitch count. Even if you don't score 20-plus pitches for Skubal in the first, we'd love to see it.
All righty, we got a special guest joining us now on the Big Play pregame show. We're joined by my co-host on the Big Play Cleveland show.
Oh, yeah.
You know him as Reflog out there on the social media streets.
Yes.
Mr. Chris McNeil joins us as we close in and grow an inch closer to first pitch at Progressive Field. Chris, what are the vibes like down there in Granville? How excited are you for this Game 5 today, brother?
Oh, I can't wait. I've been listening to you guys this morning. Great job out of everybody there. I'm just pumped for this. I'm kind of like Dave, a little bit nervous. Baseball, it seems, is a little bit different than some of the other sports. You kind of get a flow with football. You get a flow with basketball. I think baseball, Jensen, is a little bit more like when you put your hand down and you got a knife and you try and avoid your fingers going around. That's like every inning. That's what it feels like. But nonetheless, man, we're in the playoffs. This is Game 5. This is it. This is what we've been waiting all season from the first time we talked to you, Jensen, and we were asking, hey, where's the offense going to come for this team? Are we going to be able to compete in this division, to win in the division, to now Game 5, Yankees on the horizon? I mean, let's go, gentlemen.
Yeah, and it was really mind-boggling to think, Chris, about what the offseason looked like. And if you were to tell us then, you'd be playing for a chance to go to the ALCS. And, oh, by the way, your only off-season addition would be Austin Hedges for $4 million. Right. I don't think any of us would have sat there with a confident idea of, sure, that'll happen. Is there one guy, Chris, that you look at, and we've brought the heat all year long on Mondays, but is there one guy that you look at and say, man, from the beginning of the year to now, never would have thought that this guy would do what he did?
Boy, you kind of have across the board. You've got a lot of contributions from a lot of guys on this team, and I really start with the manager. right?
Yeah.
Stephen Vogt, being able to bring everybody up the way that he has. I really thought a lot of our success for this organization over the last few years has been a direct representation, a direct result of Tito. I think he's kept this club together. I think even without spending on the part of ownership, he's been able to keep this team competitive every year. And I wondered if there was going to be a drop-off going into this year. You got a rookie manager. You've got a bunch of young guys still on this club. You know, we had a bus basically running between Columbus up there to Cleveland just to keep a batting order all year long. Stephen Vogt's been able to navigate all of that this season, and I can't give enough credit to that guy. You know, you talk about this organization, and, you know, I hate to compare, although I do it all the time, the different organizations in Cleveland. You look at the Cavs, you look at the Browns, and then you look at the Guardians. We always rip on ownership for not giving them enough resources, right? But what do? Every single year, they're in the mix.
Yep.
And we see it once again. You're switching managers. You wonder if, hey, maybe this is the fall off. Maybe this is the time where the Guards lose the magic. We haven't seen that at all. So kudos to Stephen Vogt. He's been able to get the best out of these guys all year long. And I'll tell you, Jensen, I'm wearing a shirt today, Big Christmas. That's who I'm looking for. That's who I'm looking for to have a big game today. He's in the starting lineup. I'm looking for something big out of Big Christmas.
Yeah, Rafa, we had on earlier, already has his Feliz Navidad ready
to go.
So
Nice.
we echo your sentiments. Last one from me for you, buddy, and appreciate you having me all year. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we're doing this again on Monday, previewing the ALCS. But what would you say to fans for, you know, what's happened this year and also, as you mentioned, being in it year after year? If they haven't bought in yet, what would you say has been a difference maker for you, looking at how this team has played, the product they put on the field, all the renovations now going to the ballpark? Nick's even said it himself. It's been unbelievable as a fan experience down there. The thing you would say to say, all right, hey, sign on, jump on now because it's only going up from here.
Boy, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. I tell you what, I was up at the ballpark. I was there opening day. We went up for a couple more games this year.
The Eclipse.
Coming all the way up from Columbus, a lot of fun. You know, this team continues to invest in the fan experience out there. I think there were 7 or 8 sellouts this year, which is just fantastic to see. The fans are coming back. They're coming back in a big way. And the team that is on the field is fun.
Yeah.
You talked about guys like Austin Hedges. You know, this is an old veteran who's basically a cheerleader for this team. But he's really brought together a lot of fun guys that have responded throughout this season. You know, I've watched every game. And it's been a blast just watching different guys contribute while you still have those stalwarts like Jose Ramirez, right? He's there. Love to see that big home run in the last game out of him. Love to see the energy that he brings to the clubhouse. And he's a guy just like we've been asking for years in this town, a guy who chooses us.
Yeah.
That's Jose Ramirez, right? And there's the center of this ball club. And if you can't rally behind that, I don't know what you're going to rally behind. It's a lot of fun down there at the stadium right now. I know it's going to be crazy today. I wish I was a part of it because, Jensen, we've talked about it. Playoff baseball is just different.
Yep.
It really is. And the energy, it's more like a Browns crowd once it gets going, when the Browns are good.
Yes,
a Browns crowd when the Browns are good. Because it is just pure energy out there. I look for the fans to really show up, and I look for the team to respond.
Chris, thank God we brought Jensen on to Big Play this year, where we've deflected from any Browns talk for so long. You had to bring it up real quickly, but thank God we have Jensen Lewis
Jensen
here.
and Jameis are going to save the season.
Yes, I love it.
How many pre-shows conversations did we have, Nick, so far, where it's like, well, we don't have to talk Browns in this segment. Oh, we got Jensen coming on. He's going to take these 2 segments, so we'll just push that Browns talk to the end.
Absolutely. It's been a ton of fun, and Chris, I know you agree. You know, we got to keep this alive. Got to get a win today, but how fun would it be to do the show on Monday and talk about this series against New York? Would just be incredible.
Oh, it really would. And I've been saying it since the beginning. We talked about it on our show. Who do you want to see? Hey, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Love it.
We all want to play the Yankees.
Love it.
I know the Yankees have their little rivalry with Boston, and they claim they have nothing with Cleveland. We've got a lot of history here. They killed one of our players back in the day. A lot of people may have forgotten that, but that did happen, and that was the Yankees. So I would love nothing more than to have them in the next series and take those bad boys out.
Chris is fired up. Reflog, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be live on Monday. I'm excited.
All right, see you guys.
All
Go
right.
Guards.
Yeah,
Go
baby,
Guards.
let's go.
Chris McNeil, Reflog_18, joining us on the pregame show, and I think he just gives the voice of the fan, the voice of everyone here at the Lakewood Truck Park that is now filled up and packed. Let's just win today, man, because doing this again next week against the Yankees just brings new life into the city of Cleveland whenever you got those teams going at it.
You just don't realize how difficult it is to not only get to the postseason, but getting to that opportunity where 4 more wins get you to a World Series. I told you guys this story. It bears repeating. My rookie year, 2007, a magical run that we had, and last team ever to win a postseason series in old Yankee Stadium because they tore it down in 2008, didn't make the postseason that year. And then going to Fenway and actually splitting the series there. Trot Nixon, you want to talk about unlikely heroes. You remember in Game 2 there, we're in extra innings, Trot Nixon has the pinch hit, go-ahead RBI single, and then we end up scoring a boatload in that inning because Franklin Gutierrez hits a grand slam over the Green Monster.
Yes.
We came home, split with that series, all the momentum. Jake Westbrook goes out, throws a gem. I came in, punched out Dustin Pedroia, and we came on and won Game 3. Game 4 was Paul Bird, who was unbelievable for us that year. And again, the old double pump, triple pump over the head, the old school delivery, but was so huge for us. And yes, it was the 3-1 lead headed into Game 5. And it was the weird off day between Game 4 and Game 5 that I'll never forget. I played Cape Cod League baseball with Jacoby Ellsbury, who was an outfielder for the Red Sox that year. Jake and I had come in to play catch just to get him. He would have been our Game 7 starter. Unfortunately, he ended up being that. And I remember Jacoby telling me, he goes, dude, we're done. We're done. And I'm like, what?
Really?
Because Tito, who was managing Red Sox then, had him out there. We had shut him down offensively. And they were trying to at least just go out, have some BP, try and like shake the cobwebs, get some kind of good thing going. And I remember him telling me just straight up, because we're done.
Wow.
We're done. And I left the stadium that day, and I'm like, we're going to the World Series. Came in the next day, and then I'm not sure if you guys remember the infamous story about it was supposed to be Taylor Swift who was singing the national anthem that night.
Really?
Late cancellation, and they had to bring in someone local, and it ended up being Josh Beckett's ex-girlfriend at the time. Now, to this day, I'm told that our PR people had no clue.
That's a lie.
And the problem was, yes, Josh Beckett was starting Game 5. Well, wouldn't you know it, we come in, and on the whiteboard, here's, the times for lineups, the anthem, first pitch, and we see who the name is, and those of us still young in that day and age and are keeping up with pop culture, we're like, oh, no, not good. Because then we were like, you're going to awake the sleeping giant.
Yeah.
And what happened? Beckett went out, 8 unbelievable innings. That's the quietest flight I ever had in a big league uniform going back to Boston, because I think we felt at that point like, oh, no. And then I've hated Dropkick Murphys from day one because they had a concert before Game 7 in the outfield. And we're walking in the bullpen. And I'm like, they're bringing in this garbage? Like, come on. So it was a kind of a horror show there for the last couple of games and ended our season. But at that point, I'm like, oh, we're going back every year. This is going to happen every year. Never made it back in my big league career. So as you guys and we've all talked about, relish the opportunity. It doesn't come around all the time. Like, spoiled to have these chances, and especially for the young guys who are getting it for the first time. Yeah.
On a positive note, I've never met anyone who liked Dustin Pedroia. What was it like punching him out in a huge game?
Well, he had that moniker of kind of being, just a grinder, really just a pest, and kept fouling balls. I was throwing 94 down and away. I'm like, I'm going to get you, dude. Like, I'm going to keep inching it off. He kept fouling it. And finally I got him, and I probably channeled then my inner Tarek Skubal and let off a few expletives to him walking off the mound. And, you just get the best one I remember from that year was punching out Gary Sheffield against Detroit, and it was when we were putting Detroit away to win the division. Back then, Player of the Game did the interview on TV, and that was when we did the pies in the face for guys.
Oh, yeah?
So that was my first one, because that was also my first big league win. So it was kind of neat Now they do the beer showers and everything. But, yeah, it was a magical ride. And one that, guys, that year we were in Texas. We were kind of struggling. Huge team meeting because that was when Cliff Lee threw at Sammy Sosa. And our dugout just like – because Victor Martinez and Cliff Lee were getting into it. Yeah. And they emptied it in the tunnel. And we're all in the bullpen like, what is going on out there? What is going on? So we come in to the dugout and into the clubhouse, and Casey Blake was like, hey, don't change or anything. We're going to have a meeting. And so everybody aired it out like, hey, what are the issues? Like, let's get it out in the open. Let's be done with it. And from that day forward, it turned us all the way around. And we went on a huge run, eventually got us to a game from the World Series.
Wow. You know, a lot of people, to echo that sentiment, you know, you feel like you get to this point of a season. You look at this Guards roster. All these guys are so young. And I know the three of us believe that this really is just the beginning of Guards ball and, you know, this new era of Cleveland baseball with all of these young guys. But I hope these guys, and I know that they do, relish in the opportunity to go out there every day. I think fans make a lot of house money conversation, you know, that they've gotten this far. They overachieved all year. Now they're playing with house money. I don't know about that because across sports, throughout sports, we've seen so many times young teams that were like, oh, they overachieved all the time. I think back in the NBA, you know, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant were all on the Oklahoma City Thunder together. And it was like, this team will be back. You know, they got bounced by the Miami Heat and the Big Three, LeBron James. It's like they're going to be right back, and they never were. They split up, and the Thunder have never been back to that same point. So when you have an opportunity like what the Guards have today in a pivotal Game 5 to go play the Yankees, who are porous in their own right. Like you said, outside of Judge, outside of Soto, that lineup is similar to the Miami Marlins. I mean, you really become one series away from playing in another World Series after we just had one here in 2016, and that's special. And I know that this group understands exactly how big that is.
Yeah, and to kind of parlay off of that thought process, if Detroit wins today, it's their first AL Championship Series appearance since 2013. So it's been over a decade for them. They're certainly not coming in saying, oh, we're on house money. We did it great. No one expected us to be here. I mean, 0.2% has been put up in that locker room ever since, you know, they had traded Jack Flaherty. And they were like, all right, well, no one expects us to be anywhere near the postseason, let alone get there. Here we are. Yeah. And we've said it many times. Look at the last 5 years. I go back to last year. Texas and Arizona were out of playoff spots middle of August. They got hot at the right time. They had the best 3-week stretch in the postseason of their respective organizations, and you had the 6th seed in Arizona. You had, the 5 seed in Texas, and those are the two teams that make it to the World Series. So you can do all you want in a regular season. But if you're hot at the right time, which both these teams are, you take it. You run with it. And I think look at the Mets. Mets are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
No one thought after the first half that they would have any chance of coming back. Or if they did, you're not getting past Philly. You're not getting past the Dodgers. No way. This is the beauty of the postseason, man. Anything can happen, and I think that's the mindset you take today.
Jensen, you mentioned your postseason experience, and obviously there's no way to tell for sure what could be in the heads of Detroit. But they had to board that plane again after Game 4. And you got to wonder if they had a little bit, okay, I get Scooble on the bump gives them a little bit of confidence. But I wonder for some of those offensive players that haven't had much success throughout this series.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's Matthew Boyd, who's a vet, who's pitched in the postseason, who's pitched in the series, and has done so very well. Like, I wonder if the idea, the oh crap, kind of crept into the back of some Detroit hitters. We got to go back to Cleveland now, what that atmosphere is going to look like with, you know, a guy in Boyd that's a vet that's been around the block and has done it at a very high level. I just think the mental aspect weighs both ways for this series, and I really think playing at home benefits the Guards in this one.
It does. It does, and that is a great idea to bring up, too, thinking of, okay, they probably were like, this is going to be awesome if we're able to finish this out at home.
Yeah, celebrate
at home. We don't have to get back in a hotel and try and get this thing rolling again. So I think it is absolutely at play here, and that's why the first inning could be so critical. If you punch them right in the mouth, it's their best bullet. It's not only getting to Scooble, who, by the way, I think it's 24 consecutive scoreless innings dating back to the end of the regular season. And he's had 13 so far in the postseason. It's all it takes, man, is one hit. If Fry goes deep, second batter of the game, and that place is an absolute madhouse after a 1-2-3 top of the first, you better believe it's squeaky bum time for the Detroit Tigers.
Yep,
Yeah.
No
absolutely.
doubt.
Yeah, because that place is only looking for a reason to get crazier than what they're going to be when the lineup is announced, when Stephen Vogt is announced.
Yep.
The fans that are in there are literally just going to look for any reason to explode, and that's going to be a consistent theme, I have to believe, throughout this game, not just at the beginning, but throughout. I'm very excited for this one. Obviously, the Guards vibes are high. We're hanging out here at the Lakewood Truck Park, brought to you guys today by Lipton Hard Iced Tea. Try one of these Lipton Hard Iced Teas. They're very good. And we're, dude.
Yeah, one down.
Yeah, we got one down.
Many more to go.
Many more to go. Win first pitch.
We'll get some later.
We'll get some.
They're also known as Liquid Courage.
Yeah, Liquid Courage, which we'll need a lot of. And, man, this is going to be a day here at the Lakewood Truck Park because you go from the Guards right into the Buckeyes against Oregon. And pace yourselves out there, Lakewood.
That's right.
Empty the tank. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
We are not worried about the Eagles tomorrow at all.
That's been your theme, Jensen, really throughout this entire thing is for Matthew Boyd, for these Guardians. Go out there today and empty the tank. Leave nothing left out there because this is it. This could be it.
Fun time. And been great doing this. Packed house here at the Lakewood Truck Park. I am hoping that we get to do this again Monday night. First primetime game. And be able to talk about a league championship series. First appearance since 2016. Boy, that was a fun year. And it was also a year, too, boys, where not much was expected of that Cleveland Indian group. That year, for people that don't remember, that year was the party at Napoli's. Okay, they had signed him to a one-year deal. Like, all right, we'll take a shot. And if it goes well for you, that's probably going well for us, too. Jose Ramirez was not in the starting lineup on opening day. Michael Brantley was on the IL.
Yep.
You had Colin Cowgill hitting ninth. You had Juan Uribe playing third. You had Marlon Byrd as your designated hitter.
I don't even remember that guy.
Right? I think that's again, when you look at some similarities, you look at where, that group overachieved big time, and a lot of people didn't remember that postseason too. Boston was supposed to shellac them in the first round.
100%.
They go in and sweep them, all right? And that was born of the change in how bullpens were used when Tito brought Andrew Miller in after Josh Tomlin in the fourth inning and said, all right, here we go. It's yours to take us home. And then you go to Toronto.
That was supposed to be the shaking in your boots series.
That was you had a chance to sweep. That was drone gate from Bauer, and they bullpenned that entire Game 3 win, right? You lose Game 4, but then Ryan Merritt, start of his career, start of his life, you come out. So you nearly swept your way to the World Series for a team that no one expected to do anything.
People were sending Ryan Merritt wedding gifts
Yeah.
I think
on his registry.
They paid for his whole registry,
They
I think.
cleaned it out.
Sorry about it.
So maybe Big
friends and
Christmas is
family.
getting married this time around, and we'll do the favor again.
Need something big out of Big Christmas. That was good stuff from Chris McNeil. Had his Big Christmas shirt on, ready to roll. Obviously, we're feeling good about Josh Naylor. Something due for Nails in this series. Hasn't done a whole lot. You look at the odds on DraftKings, I think right now 14, 15 to 1 to hit a home run in this game.
Wow.
I mean, that could give the Guards some serious juice. All right, guys, I think it's prediction time.
All right.
As we get into this very pivotal Game 5. Jensen, I'll start with you. Prediction for this one.
Feels like 3-2, right? It feels like a lower scoring game. It feels like you need liquid courage every inning. You need plenty of refills. You need to do a little bit of walking in between innings.
A nap before the Buckeyes.
That'll be fine. Job's not done till we get this one across the line. But, yeah, I'll go back to some of the unsung heroes. I think Rocchio still plays a huge part today. I think Fry continues a great postseason. Kwani's got to be huge. And every out that Matthew Boyd collects after the third inning is bonus time to not have to go to the bullpen guys too early.
Dave, prediction.
Give me 4-1 Guardians. We score early. I'm with Raf. We
Get to
get
Scoops.
4 runs within the first 5 innings, and we go Cade Smith, Hunter Gaddis, Emmanuel Clase to close that out. We don't give up any runs after the 7th. We're off
4-1.
Off to
Okay.
bright
Off to
New York, baby.
All right.
Yeah, start spreading the news. I'm going to go way low scoring on you guys.
2-1?
I'm going 2-1.
2-1? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 2-1.
see it.
Heart attack central here at the Lakewood Truck Park. People are going to be on the edge of their seats as we grow closer to first pitch there at Progressive Field. Guys, what do you say? That's a show.
That's it.
We're looking forward to this game. Huge thanks to everybody for coming out to Lakewood. This has been a blast doing this from here. If they advance, we hope to be back here at the Lakewood Truck Park. I think that we will be. Go follow us on social media at BigPlay. Go download that BigPlay app now. You can watch all of our great shows on demand. Huge thanks to the Lakewood Truck Park for having us out all 5 of these games. We've had an absolute blast. I think I'm going to go get an empanada over there.
Wash it down with a Lipton Hard Iced Tea.
Have a Lipton Hard Iced Tea. Huge thanks to them as well for presenting all of these shows throughout the playoffs. We're not done yet. Go Guards. Let's get this win today. We'll see you in